Hello, everybody. It's Saturday, where we recap all the big news that you may have missed that happened this week, including some big news from today, too. Big thank you to the Mods and Shah, Sean D, T&D, and Cybert as well. Thank you all for coming. Let's jump into the story. Make it quick. And it's not financial advice ever. Let's look at crypto over the last 7 days. And as you can see, Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin has been the same a month ago, a week ago. It hasn't changed. It's super tight, just hovering right below 118,000. In fact, Bitcoin price as we speak is 170,700. So it's $200 off this actual number. But what did move this week is 4 different items, and they are Solana up over 7.7%, OKB, MNT, and Chainlink. Chainlink had a good week as well. So not bad. Angle Blackson, thank you for coming. So not bad for the week. Now, the big news is Bitcoin. The 200-day moving average of Bitcoin is now above $100,000. And this is kind of reflective of many assets. Sometimes things kind of chop sideways, but for $100,000 to be achieved for a 200-day moving average is pretty phenomenal. It's nearly 2/3 of a year. And some people believe that historically is a pretty good support line. So if you look at the red line here on the chart, you can see Bitcoin has been tracking inside the confluence cloud, and it rarely breaches the 200-day moving average in a bull run. In a bear run, though, the 200-week moving average tends to be the actual rock solid support. And next time I'll pull up the 200-week so you can see it as well. Either way, things are very good, very strong. What is more interesting, though, for me, is if you look at this chart here, historically, it's taken about 4 years to do a step change. A step change is basically adding a zero to the price, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, and now $100,000. The point is, it typically took 4 years to go from $100 to $1,000 to $10,000. But it took us 5 years to get to $100,000. And the question I hear you all ask is, the question I'm asking at least, how long before it gets to $1 million, which is adding another zero to the price? And the answer is, I reckon, 6 years. Add 6 years to today, it takes us somewhere to 2030. It might be 1 year longer, but given the actual institutional stacking, it could even be shorter. Either way, things are bullish for this asset. Now, Michael Saylor gets on the microphone, where he's on the whole time, and he talks about how you only have 10 years left to stack because 99% will be mined by 2035. It's going to be very hard after 99% is mined and in circulation to stack a significant amount of Bitcoin. Even though it's going to be mined till the year 2140, basically by 2035, the next 1% of Bitcoin will be mined over 105 years, which is insane. But again, Michael Saylor says 10 years to stack as much Bitcoin as possible. After that, it's too late. And by the way, per this chart here, a couple of things fall out of it. You can see you get to $100 trillion market cap in 2045. And that, my friends, is over $5 million of Bitcoin. But, to be honest, we don't know what the world will look like, even if there will be a world in this time frame. But in the meantime, we'll ride this horse while she still has gas. Now, other good news, too. Still more, there was a lot of talk of MicroStrategy being added to the S&P 500 in Q2. I was very skeptical, despite there being 100 articles on it. I didn't see it happening. However, it is going to happen eventually. And the board of MicroStrategy think the same thing. And this from the Bitcoin Therapist says basically there were estimates that Strategy could see as much as $30 billion in passive capital inflows during the 6 months following an S&P 500 inclusion. Okay. MicroStrategy is a $100 billion asset. If you have $30 billion going into it, it's going to pump it an awful lot higher. It won't add $30 billion onto $100 billion. It will give them a lot more liquidity to do what? Use their equity to buy more Bitcoin, which in turn will go up, driving the price of MicroStrategy up. Yet another angle on what I call the infinite money glitch. We'll see if that all comes to fruition. But what is interesting to note, whoops, my slides are out of sequence. Bear with me one second. Slide 9 is what I need. How did we jump? How did we get this one here? Oh, no, that's actually okay. The story still works. But this is Norway's pension fund. They just doubled down on MicroStrategy as well and now have exposure to about 7,161 Bitcoin. And their strategy holdings surpass $1 billion. So what does it do? The Norwegian knows and how Half Viking is in the audience too. Half Viking, I don't know if you're Danish, Swedish, or Norwegian, but you're going to be one of those three, or at least half of one of those three. But if there's anybody from Norway here in the audience, please drop a flag. We have some South Africans as well. We have people from Liverpool and Spain and lots of people from the Netherlands. The Dutch love their Bitcoin. Hello. Now, this is the piece which ties into this slide, slightly out of order. What happens if MicroStrategy gets added to the S&P 500? Well, I like to look at where they would rank today. If the world was logical, which it's not, I'll show you other proof that it's not logical. MicroStrategy should have been added to the S&P 500 a long time ago, but they have certain rules and they're very stodgy and old and they take years to make decisions. But basically, the market cap of MicroStrategy would place it in the top 100 of the S&P 500, right about where Intel is. And Intel had a big spike as well this week because there's rumors the U.S. government would invest in Intel. Oh my God, never give government money because they don't know what to do with it. Anywho, winner takes most, as I say. They should invest in the winner, NVIDIA, if they want to buy a chip. But enough of that anyway. I think Altria makes cancer-making cigarettes. Welltower, no idea what they do. Interactive Brokers, I know a lot of you use that to trade, and CrowdStrike for security. So it'll be somewhere in that group, which is basically number 93 to 97. That's where MicroStrategy would land today. If Bitcoin price goes up and the NAV premium gets above 1.5, it would probably be in the top 80 companies of the S&P 500. Now, speaking of other treasury companies, Peter Thiel, backed crypto exchange Bullish, IPO'd this week, and they have the 5th largest Bitcoin treasury with 24,000 Bitcoin. Okay, they had a very nice IPO. I got a little piece of it. Thank you to Robinhood, but only a fraction of what I wanted. It was 21 times oversubscribed, and the IPOs have been red hot this year. Absolutely red hot. You can just basically throw money at any IPO. Historically, 80% of IPOs fail. This year is different because they're all crypto adjacent, and that means they're on fire. But Thiel is bullish on Bullish, and the ticker is BLSH. And again, they got a bag of Bitcoin, but they want to do very interesting things with crypto. They want to build crypto services using Solana, which is really fascinating. Anyway, let's move on with the story. Other treasuries, a company called Sequan wants to buy 100,000 Bitcoin by 2030. And this takes me back again to this basic hardness story. Where are they going to get all the Bitcoin? And to, what was it, slide 6 or 5? Bring this back again. Michael Saylor saying, if you don't buy it all by 2035, you're not going to be able to get any. And this is why all of these treasury companies are kind of FOMOing and fit, fast, and furious to stack as much as they can. And I do hope these treasury companies can hold on to their Bitcoin, because if they all dump it all at once, we could see a bear market. Anyhow, in other fun news for the crypto space, stablecoin market cap is up 12% since June, adding $30 billion of fuel to the fire. The reason I find this a bizarre number, because I just mentioned 30 billion a minute ago. Here, that's how much passive money would flow into MicroStrategy, which is a huge amount of money, by the way. But it's nothing if you're a stable coin and you just mint money all day long, like these guys, Tether, Circle, just minting all day long. Again, $30 billion added since June. It's only the middle of August, ladies and gentlemen. Rusted Woods, thank you for coming. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope everyone's having fun. I am, and I enjoy giving these shows too. So thank you all for being here. Now, this is a little for those who like dominance, the Bitcoin dominance. I rarely talk about it, but this did get my interest, okay? And people think I am not a big believer in dominance, but I believe comparing Bitcoin to other things is during most of the time you can't really trade off it. However, you can basically come up with some conclusions from this particular chart. You can see Bitcoin dominance has tanked 10% in a very short window of time, whereas the ETH dominance has gone up 110% in that same window. Bonkers. Of course, ETH has been lagging for the last 3 years, and the last 6 weeks, it's been on fire. Okay. And this is how risk happens very fast. And I believe from this chart as well that the ETH all-time high is imminent. The ETH rotation, many people say, is in full force. People are moving their capital from Bitcoin into Ethereum. And again, Bitcoin dominance has dropped 10% since July, and ETH BTC has surged. In fact, ETH BTC against pretty much anything has smoked everything out there. So congratulations for all those people who waited 3 years for 6 weeks of glory. Enjoy it. It's fantastic. And let's look at some other stuff here. This is from the SCP Profiler. ETH distance to all-time high, in case you're asking, is, according to this model, we are 9% away from all-time high for Ethereum, given the current price. All of this is based on live feeds, basically. And Solana is 37% away from all-time high. It was 50% not too long ago as well. But Solana is only a fifth of the market cap of ETH, which I find fascinating. As again, I mentioned, the world is not logical, never will be. Now, for those of you who love fiat currencies, your dollar has sucked. It's down. The dollar index is down 10% year to date. This is why you like hard assets. Thank you again to the mods in the chat. I see you taking care of everybody. I love that. Now let's look at stocks for the week, and we're going to come back to some more crypto news as well. So stay tuned for that. But stocks, you can see here, a couple of big things. One, Tesla up for the week, approximately, if I can read those numbers carefully, not much, but about 3%. Amazon 3%, Google 3%, Meta 3%, Apple 4.87%, Nvidia down, Microsoft down. Bonkers. And it's so funny because every time I see Tesla labeled as a consumer durable, it makes it sound like they make rubber basins or sinks or some other type of rubber tool. It's, again, it's a clueless category. Shout out to the S&P 500 for being so clueless and slow. This is the biggest AGI company in the world. And you'd think, based on the description of the S&P 500, they make rubber toys. It's just, the world is moving very fast, but the rest of the world can't keep up with how fast the world is moving. So sorry for that little rant. Everything's backwards, but it's a great time for us to buy our rubber goods. So let's continue doing that. Anyway, BlackRock, back to crypto and the stock, IBIT, now holds, basically, I rounded it up from 749,000 Bitcoin to 750,000 Bitcoin. Shout out to Bitcoin Archive. This is one of the largest holders in the world. And they keep on stacking. They're throwing hundreds of $1 million into this thing every single week. Bonkers. Bjorn, Clint, appreciate you guys. That is a huge bag of Bitcoin. Remember, for the kids at home, your little homework assignment right now is divide 750,000 by 15 million and give me the percentage number, because that's how much they own of the supply, because 5 million Bitcoin are lost and will never be returned. So when people talk about 21 million Bitcoin, it's a fallacy. Only 15 million will ever exist. And I keep hammering that home. So the thing is a lot scarcer than people imagine. And these guys now own basically a huge chunk. Call it 5% ballpark. I shouldn't have given away the homework answer. But anyway, let's get back to some of the craziness that's happening in the crypto space. So I'm going to summarize what's happened with both Solana and ETH so far in Q2. The numbers and the data and the progress out of Solana are pretty impressive. I'll fly through this in a second. Market cap up 30%. DeFi TVL up 30%. Camino grew 34%. Real world assets grew to $400 million. All of the tokenized stocks out there. Ondo and OUSG are the two biggest RWAs. Anza introduced Alpenglow. It's now running, and this is a complete overhaul to Solana's consensus mechanism, and it'll make it by far the fastest chain on the planet. Rex Osprey ETF went live in June, and it's already pulled in, I think, about $160 million. Pump.fun is making a ton of money. Axiom is even making more money. Liquid staking has gone up 12.2%. I covered yesterday the growth in liquid staking is insane. It's like $250 billion now. Seeker began shipping. A lot of people have it already. Block limits were raised to 50 million CUs and again to 60 million. So again, making the fastest chain even faster. Nobody can touch this. And Jito Sol tips average 55% in revenue in Q2. Thank you, Matthew, for that one. Let's check out ETH. Ethereum had a massive Q2 in terms of flows, nothing in terms of delivering new features of functionality, but they had a massive amount of flows. Shout out to Tom Lee from Bitminer, who bought a truckload of ETH, nearly 1.2 million of them. And again, in 6 weeks, the amount of action that he has driven is basically driven all the price, all the dominance, one player. And the ETH ETF flows have also been very strong too. It has been something to behold. The question is, are we seeing some type of rotation? And that is the $1 million question. Are people actually rotating their Bitcoin into ETH to rotate it back to Bitcoin when the time comes? I guarantee you some of that is happening. How much? I don't know. Hard to say. Now, back to one of the reasons I personally am fascinated by crypto is I believe everything will go on chain. Everything will be tokenized. Everything will be running on the blockchain, and all the crappy old legacy systems written in COBOL will die and go away forever. And the most important thing here is Solana is on the cusp of doing more transactions per second than all US stock markets combined. Okay, this includes Nasdaq, New York Stock Exchange, etc. And it's probably nothing, but there's no other chain that can do this. And Solana is no longer, I believe, going after crypto. It has bigger things in mind, and that is tokenizing the world, tokenizing stock exchanges. And that's what Peter Thiel is doing with Bullish as well. See the way everything is weaved together in this complex tapestry of life. Now let's look at some other numbers, which are always fun to check in on, see how we're doing. Again, this one asset here trades at 1/20th of the market cap of Ethereum, but it is more decentralized to the tune of 1,000% more. It is 3,000% faster. Finality is 360,000% faster. The TPS 1.6 million% faster. Daily transactions over 6,000% more. Daily active users over 500% more, which means 6x. It was 7x yesterday. Daily transactions over daily active users. The average user on Ethereum does 3 transactions a day. The average user on Sol does 31. Very active. Average fee $1.45 on Ethereum, and it's 0 on Solana. And but they make it up in transactions. This is like reminds me of the .com era. Fully due to market cap over daily transactions is $1,000 for Solana. It's over 300 grand for Ethereum. So if you take that, the actual transaction data, you could argue, Solana's 30,000% undervalued. Anyway, moving on. Fully due to market cap of daily active users is $1 million versus 32 grand, 3,000% difference. Again, this data is kind of fascinating for me to watch. And again, nobody looks at this data, but we do. One day the cream will float to the top. The SSK, which is the Rex, that's, I think, a mistake. I think it's 160 million, not 70 million. Anyway, I can't remember. But they had their biggest 2 days ever, pulling in $21 million over the last 2 days. So shout out to the first ever Sol ETF, and there's going to be 8 more coming in the next month. Pretty sure of that too. A quick bit of Tesla news too. Biggest AGI play in the world. A couple of things in case you missed it. He said FSD release in about 6 weeks will be dramatic gain with 10x higher parameter count and many other improvements. This means it'll be able to do things like avoid little cracks in the road, little potholes. On Optimus, the design is exquisite. It will be the world's biggest product ever. We're talking a $20 trillion market cap, and it'll be scaling to millions of units by 2030, and it'll drive massive revenue for the company. And AI and robotics must called AI a supersonic tsunami, and said Tesla's self-driving tech is being applied to Optimus using the same AI inference models, the same chips, the same software, the same AI, the same neural net. So Optimus can activate things and do things in the real world just like the cars do every single day. What a time to be alive. Anyway, despite Apple hiding Grok, the month-over-month growth of this AI is by far the fastest growing of all other AIs. And you can see all the other competitors are here. It's only a matter of time before this thing takes over. And shout out to Scam Altman. A lot of people make fun of him. Everything he says is not true, but he says he will be spending trillions of dollars on AI infrastructure, which means a lot of money will go into the pockets of NVIDIA. I don't think he'll have $1 trillion or many trillions of dollars to spend on AI infra, because I don't think people will give him the money. That's just my personal opinion, allegedly, from things that I've seen and heard and read online. Could be wrong, but either way, NVIDIA will be just fine. And finishing with the meme du jour, because I did talk a little bit about Tesla today, because I think it's very important. And I'm very happy and pleased that the price is still very low. This is a great meme from a great movie. When my grandkids asked me if becoming a Teslaionaire, it's like a millionaire, but on Tesla, was easy because of how obvious it must have been. No, it's not obvious. And it's hard. It's hard to have commitment and conviction in assets that are hated. Okay, I've been through this all my life. I've always been in hated assets. I have a thing for them, actually. Hated assets tend to be very disrespected by the markets and very undervalued compared to their real value. Again, you've seen it here. MicroStrategy, everybody thought it was a joke in 2020. Solana, everybody thought it was a joke. They still do. It's not. Tesla, everybody thought it was a joke. Bitcoin, since 2017, everybody thought it was a scam and a Ponzi and everything else. No, these are all very important assets for you, everybody. I hope you enjoy the show. See you tomorrow for the Q&A. Big thank you once again to all the lovely people out there. Sean D, T&D, Cybert, Anglebax, and Half Viking, GQ Trader, Arrested Woods, Sylvan Muster, Bjorn, Clint again. We seem to have a lot of Scandinavians today. Well done, Team Norway, for doubling your MicroStrategy bag. Oh, by the way, I just want to say one thing. A lot of people are frustrated with the MicroStrategy action, and people still don't understand why the price can be down. The answer is it's down because treasuries are getting hammered. The NAV premiums are getting hammered. The price of MicroStrategy is a function of two things: the Bitcoin price and the NAV premium. NAV premium is under 1.5. That's why it's low. Okay? When it returns, we'll be fine. Thank you all. Have a great day.